Today we are going to talk about the copyright issues in Korea. Our name of team is Sinterly, and I'm Yewon. I will be starting the beginning of the presentation, and the next presenter, Seungyeon, will be continuing after me. What is an intellectual property? Intellectual property rights are the rights given to people over the creation of their minds. They usually give the creator an exclusive right over the use of his or her creation for a certain period of time. It includes copyright, trademarks, patents, industrial design rights, trade dress, and so on. The concept of intellectual property right is easily discovered in many fields of our society. For instance, music downloaded from iTunes, products sold by convenience stores, design of clothes, and even many other things are the part of intellectual property rights. However, intellectual property rights have been violated in many cases. We will be focusing on some cases about violation of the intellectual property rights of music today, and those violations of music have become one of the biggest issues in Korea these days. Why all the problems are appearing and are becoming a public issue? We will take a look at some examples of violating cases and suggest positive solutions. These are the actual cases related to the copyright of music. Is there anyone who knows about these two singers? Roy has become famous after he won the first prize of an audition program in Korea. So now he has more than 20,000 fans, and he belongs to a company which is called CJENM Corporation, which is the largest entertainment company in Korea. The company managed the investment, production, distribution of music content. Also, they run Mnet, which takes initiative in Korean music distribution. What about acoustic music? Actually, he's not really a well-known singer, and he doesn't even belong to a big company. So he earns money by selling his own albums, and he gets some incentive from the online music sites. When the song Boom 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 was released, people thought that the main melody of the song was quite similar to the song which exists before. The song Love is Canon was made by Acoustic Rain, and there was a video which was uploaded by him 1 year ago. He argued that the song written by Roy Kim copied his own song. However, Roy's side insisted they've never heard of the music before. But later they shift their stance that they registered for the copyright before Acoustic Rain, so that the song belongs to Roy completely. As the video which contains the song exists before, it was enough for Acoustic Rain to assert that the copyright on the song he composed is his, but he couldn't because he had some financial burden and his fear of losing trial. Moreover, the fans of Roy really blamed Acoustic Rain and took Roy's sides. By this case, what we felt was unfairness. All artists can assert their just right on their work when other people infringe them. And all artists should be treated fairly in turn for their work and creation. In Korea, those controversies are usually settled down by lawsuits. However, lawsuits have some problems. It requires time costs and law costs at the same time. So it can be a burden to an individual like Acoustic Rain, who doesn't belong to a big company, compared to Roy, the musician who belonged to a big entertainment company. Even though the plaintiff wins the lawsuit, the lawsuit doesn't bring an actual profit to the singer. It means that a winning suit just excludes the royalty of defendants without prohibiting the distribution of the music. There is one more case about the infringement of the copyright of music. However, the difference between the first case and the second one is that this case is the first case related to the copyright of music, that's the plaintiff one. And both parties related to this case had higher reputation. Composer of Is You filed a suit against the composer of A Letter to You. The court concluded that the defendants infringed the author's moral rights. The court admitted the creativity of the phrase. Actually, the album, which contained the song Is You, was released 6 years earlier than the defendants, and it was sold nearly more than 100,000 copies. Also, compared to the refrains of two songs, melody, beat, tempo, and mood were really similar. Consequently, the court ordered the defendant's obligation to pay for the compensation of using the same melody. According to the case, we can assume that if they are both famous singers and have no financial difficulties, the controversy can be solved relatively easily than the case that we mentioned above. Despite of the complex trial process they have underwent, what the plaintiff got was just 10 million won. It was not a high compensation compared to the effort of preparing the lawsuits and his effort of writing his own music. Some K-pop composers don't pay for using indie music, and they don't even specify where the song was from. Undoubtedly, this brings an adverse influence to the development of healthy music industry. When borrowing sticks or lyrics from indie musicians, composers and singers should get permission for using them and need to pay for fair compensation. I will hand over to our next presenter, Seungyeon.
Until now, we've seen two cases of disputes over copyright infringements. From now on, we will see why those disputes occur and how can we deal with those problems. There are 4 problems. The first one, which is related to government, is the absence of actual relief for an infringed party. When there is an infringement of copyright holder can file a suit. Once the trial begins, it costs time and litigation expenses, which can be a burden for the individual. Also, the trial just compensate for infringements. Therefore, the government should impose the trial just compensate for infringements. Therefore, the government should impose stronger law safeguards to protect the copyright holders from infringement of copyright. And they should apply a strict legal remedy when a controversy over plagiarism occurs. The second one is the absence of an organ to examine plagiarism. In 1990s, Korea Public Performance Ethics Committee, which was dissolved in 1999, examined new albums whether it violated other existing music contents before it was released. Now, Korea Media Rating Board is in charge of the inspection, but it doesn't bring up prior prevention like what KPPEC did. What they are providing is just the subsequent remedial measures after the occurrence of infringements. Therefore, the government should organize a new association that can perform as KPPEC. And the third one is, which is related to absence of education about plagiarism. In Korea, there are no clear standards of examining plagiarism and regulations. Also, teachers and schools aren't concerned about whether they copy someone else's work. Accordingly, no one knows why we need to protect others' work, and no one knows why we need not to violate others' work. Therefore, students need to be educated about the importance of protecting intellectual properties from elementary school levels. And they need to learn the seriousness of the results of plagiarism. In fact, in other countries such as US, if it comes out that one copied someone's creative work, heavy penalties are given to the person who is directly involved. And the last one which is related to musicians and composers, is narrow genre of K-pop causing plagiarism. Nowadays, the genre of music in Korea, which is called K-pop, is so narrow: folk song, electronic, and so on. Therefore, there is a high probability of producing a similar music which shares some parts in melodies and rhythms. The artist should compose a work of music upon their conscience and always double-check their production, not to share many similarities with others' work. Moreover, even if an argument upon plagiarism occurs, the party interested should figure out whether the plagiarism is true or not. When it turns out the composer took some parts from another person's work, he or she should pay a fair compensation of using the music. In that sense, not only composers but also singers should compare their songs thoroughly to other musicians' songs responsibly. And now, until now, we've been seeing some cases and problems and solutions. And is there any questions?